everybody, this is Emily here with Life Enrichment, and I'm here today to do another Broadway show with you all. So thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you enjoy. What's unique about the calendar that Cece has so incredibly made for us for this upcoming week and for the weeks following is that we are celebrating the 100th anniversary of the women's vote. So a lot of our programming for the next several weeks are going to be aimed towards women and, celebrating women's accomplishments and women's history. It wasn't planned this way, but the musical that I'm going to do today strongly celebrates women. I feel like it fits in pretty well with the calendar that Cece has drawn up, and it was just a coincidence that the musical I chose fits really well. So I'm really excited to share this musical today. It's one that I really, really enjoy. I was very lucky to be able to see it when it was in New York on Broadway with the original cast. It's a really heartfelt, really unique musical, and I'm excited to share it all with you. The musical we're going to be doing today is called Fun Home. It's a relatively new musical within the last several years. Don, the guy who normally does the Broadway classes here, he had discussed wanting to show it with you all. So hopefully, when he comes back, he can show this to you all as well, and maybe give you a fresh new perspective. But in the meantime, I really like this musical, so I wanted to share it on my own. So I hope you all enjoy. Alright, so the musical Fun Home. There's a lot of women creators in this for this musical, which I enjoy. The music is by a woman named Janine Tesori. The lyrics for the music, as well as the book of the musical, was written by a woman named Lisa Crone. And the story Fun Home is based on the graphic memoir by Alison Bechdel. For those of you who don't know, Alison Bechdel is a pretty famous cartoonist. She wrote the book Fun Home. She's also written a variety of other stories. But the story of Fun Home is actually based on her real life, her experiences growing up, especially pertaining to her relationship with her father. You may have heard something called the Bechdel test before. That's something that people use when discussing films, but many didn't know the story of Fun Home until it came onto the Broadway stage, so I think it's a really important story to tell. The musical Fun Home premiered off-Broadway in October of 2013, and then it was brought to Broadway and premiered in April of 2015, and this was at the Circle in the Square Theater. This theater is really unique in the fact that it is a theater in the round. So rather than a big proscenium stage as we see in typical Broadway shows, there's a large rectangular floor space in the center of the arena, and the seats surround it. It really gives that a really intimate experience, and with this story, which is about a family and their struggles and relationships, I think that intimate setting is perfect for this type of show, and it really serves to benefit this theater experience. There have been several international productions. There was a national tour that began in October of 2016. Again, there have been a lot of international productions. The first was in the Philippines, actually, which starred Lea Salonga. You may have heard as the voice of Princess Jasmine, the singing voice of Princess Jasmine, and Mulan, in the Disney films Mulan and Aladdin. She's also been a really big Broadway star. She's a Tony Award-winning actress. She was in Miss Saigon. That's what she won the Tony for. She was also in the musical Allegiance with George Takei, and she also was in Les Mis on the West End in the UK. So she's a very accomplished actress, and I think it's great that she took over a role like this, which is so different than the stuff that she normally does. Something that I didn't know that I learned when I was doing the research for this is that there have actually been film rights secured for this musical by the actor Jake Gyllenhaal. And he is expected to star as Bruce, who is the father of Alison Bechdel in this story. So I hope that one day, obviously things have been delayed with everything that's going on, but I hope that one day we get to see this musical brought to the big screen. I think it would be a really great story to tell. The music is really great. And I think Jake Gyllenhaal would do a great job in the role. This photo that you see here on the right is from the Broadway musical. So this woman right here, this is Alison Bechdel. This is the older version of her. So within the musical, we see her in 3 different stages of her life. We see her as small Alison, about around the age of 10, which is this girl that we see right here. And then we also see her medium Alison, who is not pictured, which is her freshman year of college, around that time in her life. And then we see adult Alison, who's really the narrator for our story, and she is kind of looking back and reflecting on her experiences in those other 2 periods of her life. All right, so we're going to get into the plot. Notice how I didn't write Act 1 or Act 2 here. That's because this is a 1-act show. I did break down the plot. This is just one half of it, but I just wanted to specify that it just is a continually running show. There's not an act break. So again, like I just said, we have the successful cartoonist, Alison Bechdel. This is the story of her life, and she narrates the story. She has her drawing desk, and she draws cartoons, like I said, which kind of tells the story for her. You see her reflecting on her past experiences as she draws them out and creates this story before us. So as small Alison, you see her struggling with her father Bruce's expectations of her. There's a lot of conflict over her wanting to wear jeans and wear pants and play with boys, and he, wants her to have her hair pretty and long and have her wear dresses, and there's kind of a struggle within their relationship. And then you also see her, again, as I said, medium Alison, which is when she's in her first year of college, when she comes out as gay to her family. And we see the effects of that experience. With small Alison, we see at the beginning of the musical here, she's demanding to spend more time with her father. She and her father are really close, but her father is busy preparing their house with his wife, her mother Helen. They're waiting for a visit from the Historical Society. They're from a small town called Beech Creek, Pennsylvania, and their home actually doubles as a funeral home. That's their father's profession, and he's very busy with that work as well as her mother, so he doesn't have as much time for her at the moment. As they're doing that, we see the Bechdel children, Alison and her 2 brothers. They're performing a fake advertisement for the family's funeral home. This number is a really big, fun number of them pretending that they're in a TV commercial, and that's where we get the name Fun Home from. That is what the kids refer to as their funeral home, F-U-N, funeral, Fun Home. They kind of have a different view growing up in that funeral home. They have a different view of what that really means, and the experiences that people have there. It's just a normal life for them growing up in that environment. So we see them do this fake TV commercial, and then again, because we're telling Alison's story from different perspectives and different timelines in her life, it jumps around a little bit. So after we see this TV commercial, we jump to see medium Alison. Medium Alison has just joined college, and she's reluctant to join the gay student union on campus. Again, she hasn't come out of the closet yet. She's still kind of trying to figure out her sexuality, and so she's a little hesitant, but then she meets this really confident lesbian woman named Joan, who she kind of starts to develop a crush on, and Joan kind of, gets her out of her shell and gets her to join the union and, meet some people that are like her. We then see Bruce, Alison's father, and this is at the point where she's in college, so she's not home at this point, but we see that Bruce is trying to seduce Roy, who is a young man who's doing their yard work at their house, and Helen, his wife, she just plays piano and kind of ignores the situation. You can kind of tell that this is something that she's had to deal with for some time now, and it's just something she kind of sweeps under the rug rather than dealing with it. It's just something that they've struggled with within their marriage, and obviously we'll get more into that later. We then see medium Alison. She is writing to home about college. She doesn't mention Joan, she doesn't mention her sexuality. Again, she's still trying to figure that out, so she's just writing a general letter back home. Again, we see small Allison again with her relationship with her father. She's talking about how she wants to wear jeans, but Bruce kind of demands that she wears a dress so that other kids won't laugh at her. She likes to wear her hair short. He keeps telling her she needs to clip it back in a fancy barrette, and she would rather just have it all cut off, really. But again, Bruce doesn't want her to be bullied. He doesn't want kids to laugh or make fun of her. So we kind of see that that's why he has these expectations of her. Medium Allison, after having an experience with Joan kisses her, and she decides that she's going to tell her family. She's going to come out to her family and tell them the truth about her. We see this song that she sings after she's just has sex with Joan for the first time, and she's just expressing this complete joy and bliss about the fact that she's finally coming into her own. She knows who she really is now, and she's confident in saying that. So I'm going to show you a little bit of clips here. This first song I'm going to show you is the opening number for the musical. It's called Welcome to Our House on Maple Avenue. It's a little bit of an introduction into the lives of this family. This is just a short clip that I'm going to show you here, and this is from the San Diego Rep. So this is not a Broadway production, but it is a professional production after they were able to get the rights when it was still on Broadway. Welcome to our house on Maple Avenue. One moment. I'm going to turn this up more. Welcome to our house on Maple Avenue. See how we polish and we shine. We rearrange and reorganize. Everything is balanced and sweet. Like chaos never happens. We're a typical family quintet. And yet, not too bad, if I say so myself. I might still break a heart or two. Sometimes the fire burns so hot, I don't know what I'll do. Not too bad, if I say so myself. Not too bad. So that kind of gives us a glimpse into the family a little bit. We see, they're forming this tableau, this picture of a perfect family, and they're talking about how they're just a normal family, just a typical family. But then we saw Bruce's little monologue there, his little breakaway moment, where he's talking about, I might break a heart or two. So he's expressing his interest in people outside of his marriage. This next number that I'm going to show you is the fake commercial that the Bechtel children make. This is a really fun song. It's probably my favorite of this musical. It's called Come to the Fun Home. Again, this is the Broadway cast performing it on, I believe, Good Morning America. This is a really fun number. Oh, The View.
Should we start at the top?
Yeah.
Hold on. Should we say Fun Home? We only call it that in the family.
Yeah, that's right. It's our commercial. We can do what we want. That's right, too.
I guess.
Come on.
Okay.
Places, everybody. Fun Home commercial take 7 million billion thousand. Your uncle died. You feeling low. You got to bury
that number. It's just so cute watching them dance and, you know, joking around with their siblings about their experience there. Alright, so the next clip I'm going to show you is called Changing My Major. This is a song that Medium Allison sings after her first time with Joan, and how much she, you know, how much she appreciates the fact that she's now come to realize who she really is, and, you know, more about herself, and how much she's enamored by this new woman in her life.
What happened last night? Are you really here? Joan, 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 Joan. Hi, Joan, don't wake up, Joan. Oh my God, last night. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, last night. I got so excited, I was too enthusiastic. Thank you for not laughing. Well, you laughed a little bit at one point when I was touching you and said I might lose consciousness, which you said was adorable, and I just have to trust that you don't think I'm an idiot or some kind of an animal. I've never lost control due to overwhelming lust, but I must say that I'm changing my major to Joan. I'm changing my major to sex with Joan. I'm changing my major to sex with Joan, with a minor in kissing Joan. Foreign study to Joan's inner thighs, a seminar on Joan's ass in her Levi's, and Joan's crazy brown eyes. Joan, I feel like Hercules. Oh God, that sounds ridiculous. Just keep on sleeping through this and I'll work on calming down, so by the time you've woken up, I'll be cool, I'll be collected, and I'll have found some dignity. But who needs dignity? Because this is so much better. I'm radiating happiness. Will you stay here with me for the rest of the semester? We won't need any food. We'll live on sex alone. Sex with Joan. I am writing a thesis on Joan. It's a cutting-edge field and my mind is blown. I would gladly stay up every night to hone my compulsory skills with Joan. I will study my way down her spine, familiarize myself with her well-made outline, while she researches mine. I don't know who I am. I've become someone new. Nothing I just did is anything I would do. Overnight, everything changed. I am not prepared. I'm dizzy, I'm nauseous, I'm shaky. I'm scared. Am I falling into nothingness or flying into something so sublime? I don't know, but I'm changing my major to Joan. I thought all my life I'd be all alone, but that was before I was lying prone in this dorm room bed with Joan. Look, she drooled on the pillow, so sweet, all sweaty and tangled up in my bedsheet. And my heart feels complete. Let's never leave this room. How about we stay here till finals? I'll go to school forever. I'll take out a dementedly huge high-interest loan. 'Cause I'm changing my major to Joan.
So that was an actress named Abby Corrigan. She was not the original medium Allison on Broadway, but she did take over the role. The original actress's name was Emily Skeggs. She's very talented as well. So I really love that song. I think it's a great love story, not only about, you know, the love that she's experiencing for Joan, but the love that she's discovered for herself. You know, she feels like she's been in the wrong and that something's been wrong with her for her whole life, but now she's come to realize that she's not alone in that feeling. Alright, so continuing the rest of the story here. So we see adult Allison, and she's again, she's the narrator throughout all of this, but we see towards the second half here, she's kind of trying to draw a connection between her coming out story, which she does shortly after what we just saw, and her father's death. She realizes, looking back, that her father was helping her with an assignment when she was small, and he kind of took over, and it was an assignment marking all the places that you've been on a map. And adult Allison, looking back and remembering this, she kind of comes upon this realization that her father's whole life fit into a small circle within their Pennsylvania town, which just kind of paints a picture of the type of person he is and why he was so restricting in what she was allowed to do. We then see medium Allison. She's already written a letter to her parents coming out to them after her experience with Joan, and she decides to write another letter asking them to respond because they still haven't after sending that letter. We see small Allison, and she's watching TV. She's watching The Partridge Family until Bruce shuts it off, and they kind of have a discussion, and he tells her that he's seeing a psychiatrist, but he won't really explain the reason why. Adult Allison, she looking back now at that memory, she knows now at this point in her life that the reason why he was seeing a psychiatrist is because that he had an affair with an underage boy, and it was he was ultimately arrested, and this was a court-ordered thing, which again, she doesn't understand that as a child. She doesn't know what's going on as a child, but adult Allison, you know, she now knows this about her father. We then see Helen as she interacts with small Allison, and she reassures her that the therapy is going to help her father, but she doesn't really tell her much either. She doesn't elaborate. She doesn't give details about what's going on there. Small Allison sees Bruce and Helen violently arguing. He starts to throw things, and Allison wants to imagine her life as like a TV show, like The Partridge Family, a happy family that gets along. Medium Allison is annoyed. She gets a letter from her father, and he doesn't really respond to her coming out. He kind of dances around the subject, writes to her about other things, which, you know, makes her annoyed and upset. Then we see small Allison again. She's out at lunch with Bruce, her father, and they're having lunch, and she notices this delivery woman come in. She's described as butch, and she just feels this kinship to her. She feels like they are one and the same. She feels drawn to this woman that she feels she's the same as, which she's never seen anyone like her before. Helen talks to medium Allison on the phone, and she tells medium Allison that Bruce has had sexual relationships with men, which, you know, kind of paints a picture for her as to why her parents didn't really say anything when she came out to them. And Helen also tells her about their marriage and the sacrifices she's made as a wife to a gay man that can't really express himself openly, and, you know, how hard it is for her to watch these days. She has a song called Days and Days. These days and days go by, and she's just trying to hold on to a normal life. After she has this conversation with her mother, medium Allison goes home. She visits home. She brings Joan along with her, and they have a really nice evening. They stand around the piano with Bruce, and he plays, and they have some laughs, and it's a good time together. Bruce asks Allison to take a drive, and adult Allison, again, she's kind of on the outside of the story looking in for the majority of this musical. But when he asks Allison to take a drive, she looks around and she realizes that the medium Allison is gone, which, symbolizes that this is the moment for her where she progressed into that adult life, where she grew into this adulthood, out of her adolescence, into this realization of who she is, of who her father is, and of what her family is. So adult Allison, she goes from being a narrator to being in the story. She gets into the car with her father, and they go on a long drive. It's kind of awkward. It's very quiet. They're both struggling to find the right words to say. One starts talking at the same time as the other, and they interrupt each other, and then they cut each other off, and then they stop talking, and it's just an awkward experience for them because they both know what's on each other's minds, but neither of them really have the right words to say. They have this beautiful song called Telephone Wire, which is one of the last songs of the musical, and it's adult Allison trying to make that connection with her father so that they can come to terms with who they are, and face it head on. But again, this isn't really something that comes easy to her and her father, so the ride continues to be quiet. A short time later, we find Bruce as he's trying and failing to find a way to keep his life together. He really can't deal with the stresses and the pressure of his life anymore, and we learn that he steps in front of a truck and is ultimately killed, which is a little bit foreshadowed throughout the musical. We know that her father dies in some way, but she's been trying to find that connection between what happened with her coming out, and whether or not that affected his decision to do that. Not everyone believes that it was a suicide, but Allison is pretty convinced that was Bruce's decision. Allison, now as an adult, she's reconciled with her past. She's come to terms with why her father was the way he was, why he felt he had to hide, why he felt obliged to make her hide, and she doesn't hold anything against him, anything against her family. But she looks back in her memories, and she wants to find this moment of perfect balance within her life. And again, she's drawing all these pictures out, telling this story, and she remembers playing airplane with Bruce, which was that picture that we first showed when I first introduced it. Him holding her up on his legs and her suspended in the air. That was a game that she played a lot with her father. And for her, that kind of makes her story come around full circle, and finding that forgiveness and finding that balance. Unfortunately, I wanted to show the clip of that song, but I wasn't able to find one. So we have a couple other ones instead. So this song right here is called Ring of Keys. This is the performance at the 2015 Tony Awards. And this is the song that small Allison sings when she's having lunch with her father, and she sees this butch delivery woman for the first time. And this is, again, one of my favorite songs and probably the most famous song from this musical. This is called Ring of Keys. Okay. Well, that was rude. No. I'm sorry. There we go.
In this panel, me and my dad in a diner.
Where's Betty?
She went home. Lorna's on now.
Caption: my dad and I both grew up in the same small Pennsylvania town.
No.
And I didn't know it, but both of us were gay.
Where's your beret?
And we were exactly alike.
Put it back in. Keeps the hair out of your eyes.
So what a crew cut.
And we were nothing alike.
Do not take it out again.
Which was it, Dad?
Get Lorna. Need coffee.
You didn't notice her at first, Dad, but I did. I saw her the minute she walked in. I'd never seen a woman who looked like her. It was like I was a traveler in a foreign country who runs into someone from home. Someone they've never met before, but somehow just recognizes.
Someone just came in the door, like no one I ever saw before. I feel. I don't know where you came from. I wish I did. I feel so dumb. I feel your swagger and your bearing and the just right clothes you're wearing, your short hair and your dungarees and your lace-up boots and your keys. Oh, your ring of keys. I thought it was supposed to be wrong, but you seem okay with being strong. I want. You're so. It's probably conceited to say, but I think we're alike in a certain way. Your swagger and your bearing and just right clothes you're wearing, your short hair and your dungarees and your lace-up boots and your keys. Oh, your ring of keys. Do you feel my heart saying hi? In this whole luncheonette, why am I the only one who sees you're beautiful? No, I mean handsome. Your swagger and your bearing and just right clothes you're wearing, your short hair and your dungarees and your lace-up boots and your keys. Oh, your ring of keys. I know you. I know you. I know you.
So that was Sydney Lucas. Sydney Lucas was the original Small Allison on Broadway. We saw her in the other clip as well. She's incredibly talented. The girl that actually took over for her name was Gabby Pizzolo, and she's actually from where I live. We actually shared a vocal coach at one point. So this next song I'm going to show you is called Days and Days, and this is the woman that took over for the original Helen on Broadway. I'm blanking on her name at the moment, but she is going to sing this song about, you know, what her marriage has been like living with Bruce.
Welcome to our house on Maple Avenue. See how we polish and we shine. We rearrange and realign. Everything is balanced and days and days and days. That's how it happens. Days and days and days. Made of lunches and car rides and shirts and socks and grades and piano, and no one clocks the day you disappear. Days and days and days, that's how it happens. Days and days and days. Made of posing and bragging and fits of rage and boys, my God, some of them underage. And oh, how did it all happen here? There was a time your father swept me off my feet with words. We read books, strolled through Munich at night, drank beer with friends, discussed the places we would go. And he said I understood how the world made him ache. But no, that's how it happens. Days made of bargains I made because I thought as a wife I was meant to, and now my life is shattered and laid bare. Days and days and days and days and days and days and days. Welcome to our house on Maple Avenue. See how we polish and we shine. We rearrange and realign. Everything is balanced and serene. Like chaos never happens if it's never seen. Don't you come back here. I didn't raise you to give away your days like me.
Alright, so that was, her name is actually Rebecca Luker. The original actress that portrayed Helen, his name is Judy Kuhn. A very talented actress as well, but this was the best clip that I could find of someone singing it, so I decided to include that. And then this last clip that I'm going to show you is the song Telephone Wire, the song I mentioned before. This is one of the last songs of the musical, and this is, you know, when adult Allison and her father are having their car ride, and they're struggling to connect, they're struggling to communicate with each other. It isn't the best quality video. This isn't a professional production, but I still think it's really well done.
Telephone wire, run and run. Telephone wire, sundown on the creek. Partly frozen, partly flowing. Must be windy, trees are bending. Junction 50 field needs mowing. Feels like the car is floating. Say something, talk to him. Say something.
Lots of boys messed around, you know. For them, it was a game they outgrew. But I always knew.
Dad, me too, since like 5, I guess. I prefer to wear boy shirts and pants. I felt absurd in a dress. I really tried to deny my feelings for girls, but I was like you. Dad, me too.
Boris Jones.
Dad,
Boris Jones.
Dad.
Did I mention I've taken up a new project? That old house out on Route 150. You see it, Al? Must have sat empty out there for 40 or 50 years at least.
Telephone wire, stop too fast. Telephone wire, make this not the past. This car ride, this is where it has to happen. There must be some other chances. There's a moment I'm forgetting where you tell me you see me. Say something, talk to me. Say something, anything. And the light, and the light. This can't be our last.
That was fun. It's earlier than I thought. Coming in?
Telephone wire. That was our last.
So that's a really emotional song. You can see he was kind of in his own world. He wasn't really expressing what he was saying to her, and she wasn't really telling him, about how she's been feeling her whole life. And she has this sadness knowing that this is the last night that they spent together, was this car ride where they didn't really say much to each other before she went back to college. This musical has a lot of sad moments, obviously, but when we see Allison at the end coming to terms with her past and with her experiences, there's a sense of hope there that she's come a long way in her journey of grief and her journey of discovery and sexuality, and overall it's just this very heartwarming story. Has a lot of somberness to it, but a lot of joyful moments as well. I'm sorry to kind of end it on a sad note, but the last song of the musical I wasn't able to find, but I still think this is a good way to end it regardless, just because of how important that scene is. So we're going to continue here to my favorite part of my presentation, which is talking about the awards and the acclaims of the musical. So let's get started. In terms of Tony Awards, Fun Home was nominated for 10 Tony Awards in the year 2015. It won 5 for Best Musical, Best Book of a Musical, Best Original Score, Best Leading Actor, going to Michael Cerveris for as the role of Bruce, and also Best Direction of a Musical. They also received 2 Theatre World Awards for Outstanding Debut Performance, and these went to Emily Skeggs, who was the original Medium Allison, as well as Sydney Lucas, who is the original Small Allison. In 2014, the off-Broadway production was nominated for the Edward M. Kennedy Prize for Drama inspired by American history. I think that's a really big accomplishment to even be nominated. The production also received 9 Lucille Lortel Awards nominations, and it won Outstanding Musical, Outstanding Lead Actor, and Outstanding Featured Actress, and that was for Judy Kuhn, who played Helen. The New York Drama Critics Circle Award, they received that as well for Best Musical, and it received the Outer Critics Circle Award for Outstanding Off-Broadway Musical before it was brought to Broadway. It was a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize for Drama. It's very incredible. Not a lot of musicals win Pulitzer Prizes, so the fact that it was even a finalist is a really big accomplishment. And they also received a Grammy nominee for the Best Musical Theater Album. The off-Broadway cast album was actually premiered on Billboard #2, which is a pretty big accomplishment, especially for an off-Broadway cast album. So I think that's another really big accomplishment. I really think it reflects well on how good this story and this musical is. In regards to acclaims, our review section here, this is from the New York Times. They called it a beautiful heartbreaker of a musical. This is not just a coming out story or a coming of age story. Its universality comes from its awareness of how we never fully know even those closest to us, and of the undercurrent of grown-up secrets, intuited by children, that exists to some degree in every family. Fun Home finds a shining clarity that lights up the night. Crone's book and resonantly precise lyrics give this show its essential spine. Tesori's score is her best and most varied score to date, which captures the story's haunting ambiguity. So I think that really sums up the feelings, the emotions experienced in this musical as you're watching it, as well as, reflects well on the creators of this story. The LA Times said, "There have been plenty of new American musicals better put together than Fun Home, but I can't think of one in recent years that has touched me as much with its tender, ironic, and courageous vulnerability." I think that's a really beautiful way of depicting it. And then Playbill.com said that it is the best musical of the year. I mean, we all know that. It won Best Musical that year, so I think that's pretty accurate. They said it was an emotionally packed piece of theater, full of joy, heart, sorrow, and uncomfortable reality. These are just a few of my favorite reviews. There are obviously several more positive reviews of this musical. I really just think it's such a unique story to tell. I think it's an important story to tell. Not a lot of musicals are this honest and this vulnerable and haunting, as it was described is also a good word for it. It's a really beautiful story, and there's so much more good music in it that I wasn't able to show just based on what I've been able to find. But if you ever get a chance to watch it, it really is such a powerful musical to experience. But that is all that I have today. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you tune in again for my next Broadway class. I already have an idea in mind, and the music for that one will be very, very fun, upbeat, light, and I'm sure you'll be able to recognize a lot of it as well. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.